there, I'm Coley. This is Sweet Peaches Nutrition, and today we're making jackfruit tortilla soup. I love tortilla soup. Basically, I love anything that uses the cumin, paprika, onion, and garlic flavor combination, and I love Mexican inspired flavors. So we're going all in this tortilla soup. And the best part is we're using jackfruit to replicate a kind of shredded chicken look. This soup looks so good, smells amazing, and you're gonna want to eat a big heaping bowl. So let's head to the kitchen to see how to make some jackfruit tortilla soup. So the first part of making our soup is going to be to remove the corn from the cob. So one way to do this is to set it in a shallow bowl and cut down the cob to remove the kernels, and they'll all catch in the bowl. Sometimes this isn't as easy as it looks, and so you can also just set your cob on the cutting board and cut down and then collect your kernels from there. So I'm just going to keep cutting down the cob. Next, we're going to dice our red onion. So I've already removed the skin, and you have two options. You can just julienne, which is cutting strips if you'd like larger chunks of onion in your soup. That's one way to do it. Or to dice, you're going to cut a similar julienne style, but you're not going to go all the way through. So you're going to do that around the onion. As you can see, it kind of breaks up the onion into small pieces, and then from there you can cut down and you get a nice even dice, and you don't have to chase your onion around the board. You can flip it over onto the flat side when it gets smaller, and however is easiest to cut your onion. Next up is our jalapeno. So the level of spice is totally up to you. You can use a serrano or whatever you're feeling. So first I'm just going to cut some slices to set aside to garnish our soup. This is totally optional, but if you want to go for presentation. The rest of this guy I'm going to mince. So I'm just going to cut it in half and remove the seeds. You can use the back of your knife, a spoon, or just get in there with your fingers. But do remember, when you're handling these peppers, you're getting those oils on your fingers, so don't touch your eyes. Make sure you wash your hands thoroughly or wear gloves, or you will be sorry. So then I'm just going to cut strips. Sometimes it's easier to cut through a pepper if you go through the flesh side, and it can help your knife from getting too dull going through the skin. So I'm going to cut strips, and then from there I'm going to cut small little pieces because I am a wimp when it comes to spices, so I want my jalapeno evenly dispersed throughout my soup. So just going down, grab a bunch of them. Don't do more than your knife can handle, you know. You can always go for round two. So I'm just gonna mince those guys up. And then once we're done mincing those, just gonna put them in a bowl and set them aside to add into our soup later. So we're also gonna add some diced red pepper. You dice those in the same way the jalapeno is diced. And then we have our onion and our corn. Next, we're moving on to the jackfruit, which is gonna be kind of like the chicken of this soup. So this is what the jackfruit looks like. You're just gonna drain the can, and then you just kind of pull it apart. You can use forks, but honestly I feel like just getting in there with your fingers is easier. And you can see how it kind of has the appearance of like pulled pork or like shredded chicken. And so I'm just pulling it apart into pieces until I have the whole bowl finished. And then I'm going to add salsa, which is going to get a lot of good flavor. And then our spices, which I'll have the full list linked below. So we're going to mix those in, as well as salt and pepper. Don't forget to season your food. It's very important. So again, this is another place where you can adjust to your liking. I used a medium salsa. You can definitely use a spicier salsa, and you can up the chipotle powder if you want more of a kick. So I'm being very liberal with my salt and pepper use because I want this to have flavor, because the jackfruit itself doesn't really taste like anything. So then we're just going to give that a good mix until everything is incorporated, and then set it aside so that it has a little bit of time to incorporate and the flavors will meld together. Alright, now we're breaking out the Instant Pot or whatever pressure cooker you have, and basically we're just adding everyone in the pool. You can also do this on the stovetop if you don't have the gadget like this. It totally works the same. You're just going to want to bring it up to a boil and then let it simmer until all your veggies are soft and the flavors have melted together. So I'm just adding in all my veggies. And you can totally adjust the proportions if you want more corn, less onion, whatever. We're also going to use a can of drained and rinsed black beans. Remember to rinse your beans if you find they make you gassy, it may help. So then just a can of diced tomatoes. You want the liquid for the tomatoes. Then our marinated jackfruit is going in. That will give a lot of flavor to the soup as well. And then finally, we're going to top it off with vegetable broth. I'm going to do about 3 or 4 cups, and it totally depends on how much evaporates while you're cooking, if you're doing it on the stove, or if you prefer your soup brothier, feel free to add more, and if you prefer it chunkier, then a little less. It's really easy to adjust ratios in soup recipes. So now we're going to put the lid on, and you want to have the top set to pressure or sealing or whatever it's called, where you're not releasing. And you're going to cook on high for 10 minutes. And then you can see we have delicious soup. All of our veggies are cooked. All the flavors have kind of melted together from the jackfruit. And it's ready to serve. So, like I said, you can see here this is pretty thick. You can go ahead and add more broth if you prefer. And when you feel good about the consistency, then you are ready to serve. So, there are lots of options for topping this. I think that lime adds a really nice flavor and kind of tones down the spice. If you are not a huge spice person, then I can go ahead and top with some jalapenos for garnish. This is more for looks than anything. And finally, those tortilla strips I was talking about, you're just going to cut a tortilla using a pizza cutter or a knife into strips and bake them at 350 until they get golden brown, and they taste really great on top. And then you are ready to eat this tortilla soup. Just note that if you mix this tortilla strips in and try to store it, it will get soggy, so they're best eaten fresh. Enjoy the soup!